Hey guys, gonna talk about Diamond Flask today. Let me turn the sound off, or just turn the sound down maybe. Because I'm gonna go into combat and show you guys. So Diamond Flask is a quest reward that you get. So this is from the Warrior class quest at level 50. The one that takes you into Sunken Temple. And it restores 9 health every 5 seconds and increases your strength by 75, lasts 1 minute, and it's a 6-minute cooldown. And this is you've probably if you're a new warrior, you've probably seen or heard other people talking about Diamond Flask, and even if you're not new, this is like people talk about Flask Set. Like, I need that for my Flask Set, and they're, people might be taking healing gear in 5 mans or 20 mans or whatever. This trinket. So just talking about the strength part first. So 75 strength. We get 2 attack power for every strength. So you double it. So 75 times 2. So 150 attack power for 1 minute. That's really good. Even if you didn't use it for the healing, that's really good. And you're looking at this like 9 health every 5 seconds. That's not a lot. But what happens is Diamond Flask, the healing portion of it scales off of your healing gear. So I'm going to put on my Flask set. Okay. So I have... Let me change this to spell. I have almost 1200 healing with my healing set of gear on. And I don't have a healing trinket yet. I still have Black Hand's Breath. So instead of 9 health every 5 seconds, I'm going to get 9 health plus 1198. So I'm going to be getting 1200 and... Let me go back in my combat log and see if I can see. I'm going to show you just in a second. So 1207 is what my Diamond Flask heals me for, with no buffs. No raid buffs, no world buffs, no oils, no nothing. Just this gear and enchants. So every 5 seconds I'm going to get... Every 5 seconds for 1 minute, I'm going to get, not only getting the strength, but I'm going to get healed for 1200. So what that allows you to do, obviously, is you can solo elites. You can... on certain bosses that are difficult. So, I don't use it on Veilstraz and BWL, but you could use it on Veilstraz. You could use it on, any progression fights. And you don't have to get you don't have to get, like, the best healing gear in the game. So just as an example, Robes of the Exalted. These are really good for healers. They're also really good for Flask Set because they don't have any stats on them other than just healing. So you don't care about spell crit. You don't care about mana per 5. You don't care about... Like, this has 11 MP5 but and also 64 healing. You just want as much healing as possible. So what that means is you could get an item like this, which is 60. It's a green, and it apparently, I don't know if that auction is right. It says it auctions for $5,000. I don't think it does. I got these off of a rare spawn in Western Plaguelands up in so a good spot to farm. Sorry. Up in Hearthglen. Maybe I'll do a separate video or maybe attach it to this later. But up in Hearthglen, there's like 4 rare spawns. The tower, the Crusader Tower, which this is almost always farmed, but in the Crusader Tower there's also a rare elite, and he's level 62, I think, or 63. He's pretty tough, but you can solo him as a warrior if you have good enough gear. He can drop the plus healing stuff, and it's obviously it's RNG, it's random, it's a green, but that's where I've gotten some of these pretty decent plus healing greens. You can also get them from the auction house. There's not a ton of them out there. There's not one for every single slot. Like just recently, I had some bracers that I replaced with these. I just got these a couple days ago, actually. But the bracers I had before this were like plus 15, plus 15 healing, and they were like level 35 or level 40 or whatever. So you don't need to have 1200 healing in order for the flask set to be effective. Even if you can just get to, you know, 400 or 500, especially while you're leveling, if you can get it to 200 or 300 while you're leveling, it just makes your diamond flask that much more useful, because like I said, you're getting 150 attack power, but on top of that you're getting healed, and every 6 minutes you're getting that. So if you want to solo a hard quest, you might want to think about investing, especially if that's an alt, and you've got some extra gold from your mains. Sorry. So I'm gonna go into combat here, but let me show my macro. So there's two different macros that I use to do this flask set, and both of them require item rack. So if you don't have item rack, you need to get it, because what happens is, and you don't have to get it, I shouldn't say that. You can equip your gear with a macro as well, but when you need to have all your healing gear on, and then you use the diamond flask, and then you swap your gear back to your DPS gear before you get into combat, because you can't change gear in combat. And then the diamond, as long as you keep the diamond flask on, you'll keep the buff. You cannot, if I pop this and have all my healing gear on, and then I swap, and then I put Slayer's Crest on, my diamond flask buff goes away. So you need to make sure that, and I'll put both of these macros in the description of the video. But one of them, what it does is this is one that's designed. So there's this is the ID for Eye of the Dead, which is not a trinket that I have yet. There's only 2 healing trinkets you can use with Diamond Flask, because they're considered, most trinkets, like if I use Slayer's Crest, it'll put Diamond Flask on cooldown for 30 seconds. You can't stack the trinkets. Where is it? It's from Nax. It's from Saffron. So Eye of the Dead is one trinket, and this is considered, for whatever reason, it's considered by the game to be a defensive trinket, so you can use it with Diamond Flask without putting each other on cooldown. So this would increase, when you use it, it increases your healing by 450, and then it has a passive healing of 70. So with that trinket popped, instead of having 1198, I would have 1198 plus 70 plus 450. Again, without any raid buffs or any consumables or anything like that. The other trinket, the only other trinket in the game that works, is off of, I think it, oh no, yep, Hibernation Crystal. Increases healing by up to 350 for 15 seconds. So this is very good, but it's not as good as Eye of the Dead, obviously. The other thing you could do is you could just go get a healing trinket, like, I'm going to go to Blackwing Lair. Rejuvenating Gem, anything that adds passive healing, like this adds 66, that's obviously not great. You want that 350 boost or the 450 boost from the on use. But you can go and get trinkets, like, so you could go to I think it's a BRD. So you could go get this trinket, and it only adds 22. Not great. This is probably not really worth it to farm. But this would work as well because it's passive. So you could have that in this other slot. I probably should go farm it, but again, it's only adding 22, and when I'm already getting healed for 1200, it's not. That's really not going to move the needle. Getting Hibernation Crystal will move the needle. That's an extra 350 per tick. It's just very hard to get. Now, most pieces of gear, so like if you look, so this is 64. This is one of the best healing helms in the game. It's not Biss. A lot of these are going to add 40 or 50 or 60, you know, maybe 70. So you're not going to have a ton. Like, let's just, for an example, take the weapons off. So I went from 1198 down to, I basically sliced it in half. So weapons are going to be a big contributor to your healing for your flask set. Because weapons usually have a lot of healing on them, but also because there's an enchant for 55 healing. So just between the two weapons, and since you're a warrior, you can dual wield. You can dual wield maces, swords. So you could get, you know, there's not a lot of healing swords out there in the game. You can get daggers. You don't want to get a main hand and a shield because most shields have crappy, like the best healing shield in the game is off of Kel'Thuzad, and it only has 59 healing. And then you can't put 55 healing on this. So you want to get, you know, like this Widow's Embrace is off of Fairlena. It's 161 plus 55. So that's a crazy amount of healing compared to that shield. The Kel'Thuzad mace is obviously the best, 238. But then the second best would be the one off of Cthulhu, which is very hard to get because it doesn't drop that often. And that's 187. So the Fairlena one is a good compromise. And sometimes, especially if you're an endgame warrior, you're going to have to obviously share this with the healers. You're not going to want to just go and take all of their stuff. But the Fairlena mace is very good. There's other options out there. If you really want to, I think there's a staff. I think Kel'Thuzad drops a staff, actually. Soulseeker, maybe? No, it's damage. So you could do that damage and healing. It's not that great. Somebody drops a staff. Is it, Instructor? No. No, not the Wraith Blade. Somebody drops a healing staff. Is it it's not Soulseeker. Well, at any rate. Oh, Spire of Twilight. So, this is a two-hander. It's a staff. It's not great. Drops off Thaddeus. It's only 178, but then you can still do the 55 healing on it. Now, if you're not an endgame tank, if you're not a Nax tank, there's other options out there. There's not a ton of great options out there, I will say. Like Blackwing Lair, for example, I know Nefarian drops the mace. Locomir, and that's 84. You know, there's, and that's spell damage and healing, but that's fine. That still works for healing. There's not a ton of weapon options. If you're not raiding, I think there's one in, is it Stratholme? I know Cannon Master, I think, drops a healing staff. So that's a two-handed staff that does healing up to 66. That's not bad for a 5-man. And you can put 55 healing on that. So there's other options out there. And again, you can buy greens off the auction house. You can buy green weapons off the auction house as well, depending on what your budget is. But anyway, let's go kill something, and I'll show you exactly how this works. So I'm out here farming. These are elites. These are 62 elites on the Isle of Dread. I'm farming these tenderloins. These guys hit very hard. Well, they don't hit very hard. They hit very hard if you don't have a healer. Let's say that. So I have my flask set on. Here's my 2 trinkets. And what I have is I'm going to use this macro. It's going to drink my flask, and then it's going to swap to the set that I had on previously, which was the set, which is just my everyday tanking set, my threat set. You could have your DPS set, doesn't matter. As long as you have Diamond Flask equipped. Okay, let's go find, let's go to this guy. So now you see my health is dropped, and when I swap gear, my health, I'm going to have a big gap, but the Diamond Flask will fill it up really quickly.
That ability isn't ready yet.
Okay, you see here's I have a weak aura that shows my Diamond Flask, and that's how long I've got left on it. You can see it's healing me up to full. Every time I lose health, it's ticking every 5 seconds. Get 5 Sunders up, Death Wish. So basically, I have a minute to kill this guy. You can see he's hitting me for 200, 300, 250, 270. You know, he's hitting me not for a ton of damage, but he's... Now I got 20 seconds. So even with Death Wish popped, and now he's enraged, he still can't kill me. And again, I don't have Bis.
I don't have a target.
I don't have the Bis Diamond Flask. Ooh, that one just spawned right on top of me.
Not enough rage.
So I was getting healed for, again, 1207. So just 1200. And that dude was a 61 elite. And he couldn't kill me. I mean, I also have some pretty decent gear. Not full Bis, but pretty close. I probably should swap the trinkets out. So that's how Diamond Flask works. And then now it's on cooldown. So now I'm just going to wait 5 minutes and then go do it again. So this enables you to go solo elites. Like I said, you can, if you're leveling, you can solo elite quests. So when I was doing my Earth Strike grind in Silithus, you have to go into these caves and kill a bunch of elite bugs. That's really difficult to do with a Diamond Flask set because you have to wait for the cooldown. But also when you're getting the tactical badges and the combat badges and whatnot, there's a few of them that will ask you to kill the elite packs that are running. There's an elite that runs around with non-elites. There's one that runs over this camp, and there's one that starts here and works its way down to here, and it ends up killing these, I think they're called Cenarian Outriders or something like that. At the time, I think I only had a couple hundred, maybe 300 or 400 or 500 healing in my Flask set, and I was able to solo that group. It's like a group of 5 or 6, and only one of them is an elite. And what I would do is I would get that combat task, or I forget which one it was, combat or tactical, and I would you know, basically the map would show me where their path was, and I would run the path backwards to find them. And if I found them up here, I would wait until they engaged with the Cenarian guys, and then I would pop my flask, and then I would go in and attack, and I would kill the elite first before my Diamond Flask ran out. And I was able to do that multiple times. It's just super handy. And like I said, you can also do that in raids. So in raids, I only use Diamond Flask currently for Lotheb. Because on Lotheb, it's very handy because he puts up a debuff on the healers where they can only cast one heal every 60 seconds. So what I do is, after we kill Hygen, on the way to Lotheb, I swap into my Diamond Flask set. I put double... I don't have any. So there's Valentine's Day candy. There's other foods and candies that are from events that can give you up to, I think it's 44 extra healing. So you can get another 44 by doing that. And I thought I had these on this character. The wizard oils. So these, you can add these to each weapon. So this Brilliant Wizard Oil increases spell damage by up to 36 and spell critical chance by 1%. So you don't care about the crit, but you do care about the 36. So that's another 72. So 72, and then the food, which I think, like I said, is 44. That's over 100 extra. And then what we also do is a healer, a priest, will PI me, which is an extra, I think, 20% spell damage and healing. So right before the pull, we'll do a countdown timer. I'll have all my flask stuff on. I'll say, you know, PI me. And then I use my macro, and then it swaps my gear back to, you know, I'll swap back to my mitt gear, not the gear that I'm using right now to show this video. And then I run in, and then for the next, you know, 55 seconds, because it usually takes a few seconds to get the everything lined up and then get the macro off. So as I'm running in, I lose like a tick or two of Diamond Flask, but for like 55 or 50 seconds, I'm healing myself for over 2,000 per tick because of all my buffs and you know, and once I get trinkets, once I get Eye of the Dead or the other one, it'll be, you know, close to 2,500 per tick. And that helps out a ton on Lotheb. It's I would highly suggest, if you're a main tank for a Nax guild, even if you're, you know, one of the off tanks, you might need to fill in if the main tank loses world buffs. It has been very helpful for us because this is what you can do on top of that. Not only are you're helping to heal yourself for the first 50 seconds of the fight, which is very handy, but what we've started to do is to leave healers out of the fight, outside the gate, so they don't get the debuff. So when we leave Lotheb, we can immediately start on trash. You don't have to sit there and wait for 60 seconds for that healing debuff to go away, because it doesn't drop as soon as combat is ended. Okay, so let's go kill one more thing. The drop rate on these chops is pretty terrible. I'm farming these for these, but they sell. I mean, look, they sell for 50 gold. It looks like on my server. I'm farming these for that quest, Isle of Dread. But these are also used to make the stamina food. I think it's the best stamina food in the game. So you don't want to get into combat. You don't want to get too close. Some of these guys are casters. You just kind of want to try to walk them back so you don't get... I need to get 5 Sunders up to cast Death Wish. Death Wish coming. And then just start pumping. So anything that you can kill in, let's say, 50 seconds... You know, you're not going to be able to go solo any World Dragons or anything crazy like that, but anything you can kill in like 50 seconds, like, it's probably not going to be able to kill you as long as you have, you know, halfway decent Flask Set. And I died a couple times before this video trying to figure out how much damage these guys had, and then I had issues with my macro. Flask Set is about to run out, but he's dead. No chops. Alright, so that's the Diamond Flask. That's why it's so powerful. You know, like I said, the strength on this thing is really good. You know, even if you don't have a Flask Set, the strength is really good. It's a very good trinket to have and rotate in and use on certain boss fights. On fights that last longer than 30 seconds, I think it's 30 seconds or 45 seconds, this trinket will outperform Earthstrike. It's a very good trinket, but when combined with a Flask Set, especially while you're leveling, and you know, warrior leveling is grueling at times. This is a very, very good trinket. You will not replace this. I mean, there are other trinkets in the, like, obviously if you have Kiss and you have Mark of the Champion and you have you know, I don't have Kiss yet. I have Slayers, but once you have all those endgame trinkets, you're probably not going to use Diamond Flask for DPS very often, but there are a few fights in Nax and an AQ40 that you can still use it on, and it's handy. So definitely pick that as your quest reward. Alright guys, I'll see you in the next video.